Recording in progress.
At 3 p.m., the Board of Police Commission meeting is called to order. We have an invocation by one of the chaplains there online.
Amen. Good afternoon. Let us pray. Heavenly Father, we thank you for our mayor, the chief of police, and the Detroit Board of Police Commissioners. We invite your presence today in this meeting, oh God, and I pray that as they gather today, that you would give them wisdom and guidance in the name of Jesus. These and every blessing we ask in your precious Son's name. Amen.
Amen. Amen. So presently we don't have a quorum. We're going to ask the secretary for his report, and is Mr. Freeze here?
I don't see him yet, sir. Mrs. Chair, oh, here, nope.
Okay.
Chair, at this time, the secretary does not have a report.
Okay. So we go into public comments until Mr. Freeze get here, until we get a quorum.
Good afternoon, Mr. Chair. We have four speakers. Our first speaker will be Ms. Sharnita Williams. After Ms. Williams will be Election Integrity Rue and Mr. Jackie Hunt.
Good afternoon, everyone.
Good afternoon. You may be heard.
This is for the people that come here and be in this room. I'm very disappointed in a lot of stuff. I can't say everyone, but I can say this. A lot of people do not respect their job or their position. I come here to exercise my First Amendment, and I'm not wearing no wire, don't have no mics on me, none of that. I'm so tired of people stalking me in this room trying to see what's going on. If your house is in order, you shouldn't be concerned about what's going on with me. Do your job correctly, and it shouldn't be no problem. So I've been coming here over a year, complaining about the same illegal corruption. I'm in the facility at 12900 West Chicago at this shelter that you guys are fully aware of. I've been speaking about undercover officers being there. So yesterday, they burning, it's a fire going on for about 6 hours, getting rid of a lot of evidence. I see the officer go out there, put a piece of paper in there, and light the fluid, but she got an earbud in her ear. So like, no, don't do that, go back in the building. So they wait until late at night to get the burning. They burning like 6 hours of whatever they burning. So how I feel, if internal affairs lying about the officers not being in the facility, who can I trust? When police officers at this precinct, I done seen follow me in their vehicles with a lot of stripes. It's at the point you don't know what to believe. And I always say this, when you conspire to cover up anything, it is illegal. And when you conspire, it's conspiracy. So take heed to that. I'm not speaking on what I making up in my head. I'm speaking on the facts and what I've been seeing and people harassing me and my life being in danger because of the police officers of the city of Detroit. Continue to be disrespectful to their oath. Thank you very much.
So we have a quorum, introduction of Board of Police Commissioners.
Chairperson Woods.
Present.
Vice Chairperson Smith.
Present.
Commissioner Bernard, extra and excused absent. Commissioner Banks.
Present.
Commissioner Bell.
Present.
Commissioner Burton.
Present.
Commissioner Carter, extra and excused absent. Commissioner Moore.
Present.
Commissioner Hernandez, extra and excused absent. Commissioner Presley, extra and excused absent. And Commissioner DeWash, extra and excused absent.
Okay, thank you. I entertain a motion for approval of August 22, 2024 agenda.
So moved. To the chair.
Motion made by Commissioner Moore. Yes, sir.
I'd like to amend the agenda.
Okay.
I'd like to move the, I'd like to make a motion to amend the agenda to the board staff's report come after the chair report, and move the chief report after public comments.
The chief report, after any readiness on that? Anybody want to second that? There's not a second to that motion. Any support on approval of the agenda of Commissioner Moore's motion? Do anyone going to support? Yes, second? Okay, so the motion made by Commissioner Moore, second by Commissioner Smith. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Okay, the motion carries. Let's go to the chairperson's, the introduction of BOPC staff, or no, the approval of the minutes. Entertain a motion to accept the minutes for August 15th, 2024. You make the motion? Motion made by Commissioner Smith and second by Commissioner Moore. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed?
I'm going to abstain.
Okay, with one abstention, and so the motion is carried. Let's go to the chairperson's report. Chairperson don't have a report at this time. And let's go to the chief of police report.
Mr. Chair, we missed the announcement.
Excuse me. Your introduction of BOPC staff. Let me see, you got your
Yes, currently we have with us Chief Investigator Warfield, Ms. Johnny Underwood, Ms. Teresa Blossom, Ms. Artemisha Joshua, and Supervising Investigator LaSonia Sloan. The ASL interpreters are Ms. George Washington and Dr. Stephanie Beatty. Sitting in for the chief is Deputy Chief Arnold Williams. VIPs are Ms. Fredia Butler, 2nd Precinct Community Relations President, Lieutenant Mark Young, LSA President, Lieutenant Rodney Sizemore, LSA Vice President, and Mr. Ron Thomas, DPOA Vice President. The introductions, and former Commissioner William Davis.
Okay, all right, thank you. Let's go to the chief of police report.
Good afternoon, through the chair.
Good afternoon.
Starting off with crime data for homicides, compared to 2023, we are down 18%, or we've had 31 less homicides this year than last year. For non-fatal shootings, we're down 23%. We've had 126 less homicides this year than we had last year. For robberies, we're down 24%. We've had 221 less robberies this year than we had last year. Our total Part 1 violent crime, we're down 11%, meaning we've had 881 less incidents of Part 1 violent crime this year than we had last year. Carjackings, we're down 34%. We've had 39 less carjackings this year than last year. So overall for our violent crime, we are continuing to trend down. Looking at our mental health related calls for service, for 2024 year to date, we've had 234 more calls than we've had last year. Total for 2024, we've had 2,273 calls for service, and that's going to be for mental individuals in crisis. For overdose related calls, we've had a decrease of 128 less this year than we had last year. This year for service calls, we've had 3,525. For significant incidents, we had an arson that occurred on Thursday, August 15th at 1:45 p.m. Officers were on routine patrol in the area of Moraine and Harper when they were flagged down on an arson in Pargas. The officers arrived at scene. There was a U.S. Post Office, and they observed several vehicles on fire. Engine 58 from the fire department arrived on the scene and extinguished a total of 6 vehicles. There were no injuries as a result of the fire. Officers reviewed video footage located in the area of the incident and observed a male wearing a white T-shirt break a window of one of the vehicles, pour an unknown liquid into the vehicle, and then start the fire. The fire then spread to the other vehicles that were parked near it. Detectives are asking if anyone with any additional information come forward and contact Crime Stoppers at 1-800-SPEAK-UP. or Detroit Rewards, and that's going to be online, DetroitRewards.tv, if you have any information on that. Incident number 2, we had a double non-fatal shooting that occurred Sunday, August 18th at 2:05 a.m. Officers were flagged down to investigate a double non-fatal shooting that occurred at Scott and Clark. Officers were on routine patrol when they observed several vehicles doing burnouts in the street at West Grand Boulevard in Toledo. Officers cleared the intersection and continued to Scott and Clark when they observed the occupants of a black 2020 Blazer signaling for help. Officers investigated and discovered 2 occupants of the vehicle shot. The victims were transported to a local hospital by medics. Victim 1 sustained a gunshot wound to the chest, and victim 2 sustained a gunshot wound to the back. Both victims were listed in critical condition. Officers from the 4th Precinct preserved the scene, and detectives from the 4th Precinct unit were notified. Witnesses stated that the victims were driving away from West Grand Boulevard in Toledo. Someone fired shots from a dark-colored SUV. The incident is still under investigation. Detectives were asking with any information to call 1-800-SPEAK-UP. That's Crime Stoppers at 1-800-SPEAK-UP, or online, DetroitRewards.tv. Incident number 3, non-fatal shooting of an 8-year-old. This occurred Monday, August 19th at 5 a.m. Officers were dispatched to the 16,000 block of Fairmount to investigate a non-fatal shooting of an 8-year-old. Officers arrived on scene and observed the victim, 8-year-old male, being treated by medics. The medics transported the victim to a local hospital with a gunshot wound to the head. The victim was listed in stable condition and released later the same day. Officers from the 9th Precinct preserved the scene, and detectives from the 9th Precinct Detective Unit were notified. Further investigation revealed that the victim's house was shot multiple times. There were 11 additional occupants in the house at the time of the shooting, 8 of which were children between the ages of 1 and 16 years old. Detectives have developed a person of interest regarding the case. However, the incident is still under investigation. Detectives are asking that anyone with additional information concerning this incident contact Crime Stoppers or 1-800-SPEAK-UP or Detroit Rewards TV, and that's going to be DetroitRewards.tv. Incident number 4, fatal shooting. This occurred Monday, August 19th, 2024 at 6:17 p.m. Officers were dispatched to the 8600 block of Schaefer to investigate a fatal shooting. Officers arrived at the scene and observed a black SUV that had crashed into a fire hydrant. The victim, the driver of the vehicle, was suffering from a gunshot wound to the left shoulder. Medics arrived at the scene and transported the victim to a local hospital where the victim was pronounced deceased on arrival. Officers from the 2nd Precinct preserved the scene, and detectives from the homicide section were notified. Homicide detectives arrived at the scene and conducted a preliminary investigation. Witnesses reported hearing 6 shots being fired, then a loud crash. Detectives asked anyone with additional information regarding this incident to contact Crime Stoppers at 1-800-SPEAK-UP or Detroit Rewards at Detroit Rewards TV. Looking at some of the things we have going on in the department, we had a coffee and cake for the retirement of Senior Emergency Services Deployment Operator Eric Hippica, who celebrated his retirement here in the Schuyler Room yesterday. Also, we had the Detroit Police Department Grill Masters, which was a grilling competition that took place yesterday at Riverside Park. 20 Detroit Police Department Grill Masters battled it out to see who had the best ribs. Walk a Mile Wednesday also occurred yesterday at the 11th Precinct. The walk began at the 8650 Mount Elliott. There will be a graduation ceremony tomorrow for Class 2024F. The Detroit Police Department Training Center will be hosting the graduation ceremony for the recruit class at the Greater Grace Temple. Again, this will be tomorrow at 10:30 a.m. That concludes the Chief's report, and if there are any questions.
Any questions, Commissioners?
Mr. Comment.
Yes, sir.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I'm reading the media advisory, Chief, and it's not a question, it's really a comment. I'm just looking forward to seeing the video when it finally is released. I know it's under investigation, the shooting of Sherman Lee Butler, because the second paragraph is just very interesting. That's the best term I could say, but I'm looking forward to seeing the video when it is made public. Thank you.
Roger. Absolutely, and from my understanding, Chief Judge McConaughey released the advisory on it as well. And thank you for your leadership on this. You know, we got on top of it immediately upon your request, and we look forward to for everything being released to the public after the investigation is concluded. Any other questions or comments? There being no more questions and comments, then we'll go back to oral communication.
Through the chair.
Oh, excuse me. Yes, sir.
Yeah, I have a question for the chief. The question I have is DPD keeping track of how many people it searches or investigative stops and conducting response to ShotSpotter calls? That was something that our community would like to know. Also, if not, or why not without that information, how can, we access that information?
Through the chair. So for ShotSpotter, every ShotSpotter notification generates a police run. Those police runs are responded to. Those stats are captured. So that is something that actually can be provided. That's pretty much.
Okay. All right. Thank you, Mr. Brown. Make sure that we follow with the deputy chief to get that information for Commissioner Burton and for the community.
In addition to that, we still, this community still likes to know, like, how many guns are recovered, year to date, how many arrests, year to date, and what's, the overall cost of this technology, which some of us know the cost, but we don't know if the city of Detroit is benefiting from the return on investment from the cost, and should we be using this technology at all? So you look at how wide or spread ShotSpotter technology is in the city as far as geographic area of the city that the technology is in place, but how many guns are we getting off the streets? How many arrests are being made, and have any lawsuits has been filed based off of this technology? We see what happened in Chicago with Michael Williams, was misidentified and falsely arrested and served time in prison for a crime he didn't commit based off of skank evidence by ShotSpotter technology. And later on, he was able to challenge the court system and able to win his freedom back. And so that is costing taxpayers millions of dollars right now in litigations in the Chicago area.
Through the chair, we just would need a time frame of what type of when you want the information. That could be 100% given, and also for the ShotSpotter technology, it is used primarily as an investigative tool, just to make sure. And I believe that we also have information and data that can show that there has been decreases in some of our areas, and that can also be provided to the board.
Yep. Thank you. That's it? No more questions. Let's go back to oral communications.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. We'll start back with election integrity rule, Mr. Jackie Hunt, and Minister Eric Blunt.
You may be heard.
Okay, well, since I can be heard, I'm going to ask the board to make a motion to remove Darrell Woods from his position as the chairman of the board. I would like somebody to second the motion, somebody to make it and second it. He is circumventing board. Last week, the board voted to subpoena the records from the Detroit Police Department, DPD, case 20-11112 the next morning. This Darrell Woods, acting chairman of the Board of Police Commissioners, did the same thing that Willie Bell did back in 2020. He gave instructions to not start the subpoena process, but in fact, to send a letter over to the Michigan State Police requesting a report again. There's been several commissioners, the board secretary, interim secretary, who have did that already. So I don't know what's going on, but Daryl Woods, this chairman, has circumvented the board's authority to subpoena power. I find out that the Board of Police Commissioner has only used that power one time in all these years, and that was with Greektown Casino. Now, if the board voted, nobody opposed it, to subpoena the records from the Detroit Police Department, Deputy Chief Williams. I'm gonna talk about 13552 New Bern 2. The guy trying to open a crack house, a dope spot next door to my mother. Her birthday was yesterday. She turned 80. She's not about to have no crack house next to her. And you got Lieutenant Paul Pesmark over there at the 11th Precinct is doing what he doing. Now, back to Daryl Woods. Y'all need to vote and strip him of his chairmanship today and get him gone, and so we can get that police report.
That's your time. Next speaker.
To the chair and through the chair, thank you for allowing me to speak.
Yes, sir.
But I have maybe one or two quick questions. Since I've been coming, I've been hearing language. What I have here is Robert's Rule of Order. And I think I heard Commissioner Woods say something about Robert last week, and I'm pretty sure, but he can correct me if I'm wrong, that he meant Robert's Rule. I've been reading Robert's Rule. My copy is a 1990 copy. I don't know which copy this board is going by, but I would like to know if it's okay. I was in attendance last week, and when I got up here, it seemed like there was a block party that was going on, especially when I got to this door. I found out what it was, but there were officers up for promotion. And one huge thing that they did was block this entrance. That entrance, maybe not so, but I came through this one. There were bodies, all bodies, kind of bodies standing around who got promoted to supervisory, et cetera, positions. I'm wondering if they have to follow rules as we, the public, have to follow rules when we're in buildings and things like that, and congregating at the entrance. I heard nobody asking them to have a seat. I sat here along this wall, and there were plenty of seats, but I didn't hear anybody ask them to please sit down and please not block the entrance. But that seems kind of contradictory. In my opinion, I'm not the law, but this seems kind of contradictory to supervisors who will be telling those underneath them rules and what not to do and how to handle things, but yet maybe they dropped the ball that time. Maybe I'm being difficult. I don't know. But if there was a bull in here who wanted to get out and a mad dash to the door.
That's your time.
Thank you.
Next speaker.
Good afternoon, Board.
Good afternoon.
I'm Minister Eric Blunt from Sacred Heart Catholic Church right here in Detroit. I want to thank Commissioner Moore for bringing up the murder of Sherman Lee Butler. I think also all of you need to be outraged at this ridiculous amount of time that the Detroit Police Department says it needs in order to release body-worn camera footage of anything. 45 days is just ridiculous. And how can I say that? When Hakeem Littleton was killed, that same day, with less than 6 hours, that body-worn camera footage was available to the entire public. So please, I'm begging you, be outraged at 45 days. It does not take that long to release the truth. You can redact a little bit here and there if you have to, but not 45 days worth. No, no, no. I do want to thank Commissioner Woods. The last 4 or 5 meetings, there have been no awards to employees that are not employed by the Board of Police Commissioners. To me, that's a big step forward from years gone by. Next, instead of a report on crime issued by the Detroit Police Department, we are here for police officer misconduct. The first rule of order should be that you report out on the risk management system, the system you have that can detect misconduct of police officers. Next, possibly, the internal affairs investigation of any police officer ought to be known as well.
Okay, time. Thank you.
Mr. Chair, we'll go into Zoom now, and we have 2 speakers on Zoom, Mr. Jadante Smith and former Commissioner William Davis.
You could be heard, Mr. Smith.
Good afternoon. I just want to say, hold on 1 second. Good afternoon. Can I be heard?
You can be heard, sir.
So I just want to say a few things. I want to commend Commissioner Moore for his stance and his requesting of a letter being sent to Chief White over the killing of Sherman Lee Butler. I want to resound those statements just made about the 45 days being taken for this body cam footage to be released. I also want to mention Sergeant Dowdy. There's a complaint against Sergeant Dowdy of homicide because of his treatment of victims of homicide. I also want to speak to the missing children in the city of Detroit and the handling of that from the Detroit Police Department, and the fact that I was able to help a mother find her child in less than 7 days, and there are children that go missing that have been missing for years and months, and there is not enough action. There's only a couple kids that get major acknowledgement from the media, and those are the kids the officers look for. If there was a unit or a specialized group of officers who that was just their job to look for missing children, I think that would be very, very needed, because children are our future, and to not look for children is crazy. I also want to say I still have not heard from Internal Affairs about Lieutenant Cole, which is ridiculous. I'm going to start making some noise in the media if I don't hear nothing about Lieutenant Cole from his Office of Internal Affairs. I also want to talk about towing in the city of Detroit. I want to say that the police authorized towing is terrible in the city of Detroit. People are still taking kickbacks and bribes, and I want to say that there should be a look into towing. There's a department run by, from my knowledge, Captain Adams. He's a member of the Tow Rate Commission. He is over the management services section in the Detroit Police Department. There needs to be an audit of that towing in the city of Detroit, and if officers are taking kickbacks. I want to know who is in charge of looking into officers and making sure they're not taking kickbacks from these towers. Thank you.
Thank you. You can be heard. Point of order, please. You can be heard. Next speaker.
Good afternoon. Can I be heard?
Yes, sir.
Okay, William M. Davis. I'd like to say that I still think, and I'm going to keep saying that, I think the Detroit Police Department and the Board of Police Commissioners should be tracking wrongful arrest in the city of Detroit. They should be doing more and making sure to reduce that number. You all know I'm president of the Detroit chapter of NAM, but I'm also president of the Detroit Active Retired Employee Association. I'm a retired city of Detroit employee. I worked for 34 years in the water department. In the water department, if somebody falsified a report, we used to terminate them. That was one of my jobs. You know, I started off as a union steward, but I moved up into upper management. You know, we need to make sure we're doing more to reduce lawsuits. The city of Detroit, especially the police department, pay out a whole lot of money in lawsuits. We need to reduce that. We need to be tracking wrongful arrests. We need to be tracking lawsuits. We need to be tracking the fact that certain officers are involved in more suits than others. You know, we need to do a better job of managing our resources, because far too many of our resources is just going out the window. And I personally believe that if we had more officers that actually lived in the city, that would be the case. I think some officers do not live in the city, and most officers are good, hardworking, but some who do not live in the city do not care if the city of Detroit has to incur these legal expenses. So I think y'all as a board along with the department, should be doing more to reduce lawsuits and reducing wrongful arrest. And y'all should do more as it relates to people who falsify official documentation. You know, if it's illegal for you to lie to the police department should be able to lie to you. Thank you.
Thank you.
Mr. Chair, we have one more speaker, Ms. Michelle George.
Through the chair.
Yes, sir.
I want to just also just bring to the fact that the board has voted to allow the public up to 4 o'clock to jump into the board meeting to speak for public comments. So I just want to bring that to your attention. It was something that's been voted on by this board.
Okay. Do we have any? Okay.
Yeah, that's been voted on back when Ferguson was here, wasn't it? Chair Ferguson, right? That's voted on when Chair Ferguson was here.
Whatever the pleasure of the board, I'm willing to do it. You know, I stay here at 10 o'clock for the people. You know, anything else? You may be heard. I'm sorry.
Oh, you're fine. Thank you. Good evening, everyone. So I wanted to ask Commissioner Burks, are we still having the, and to the chief as well, Assistant Chief, are we still having the Police Complaint Committee meeting? Because I noticed.
Citizen Complaint Committee.
Citizens Complaint, that's what I meant to say. And the reason I'm asking that, because I know the last meeting that I attended, it was May, and I know they canceled it in June, was not one in July, and then this one was not here. And it just keeps the relationship good between the community and policing. I give DPD excellent, you know, things that they're doing, but also because of what we're seeing across the country, especially what happened to Sanya Massey with policing, and even though it's not in our state, but we want to make sure that the police, our communication with police is still there. I know there was a call I was on about a few weeks ago, and they were dealing with the situation in the precinct with the shooting with the blocks and everything, and they've been talking about it on the national news. And so what the community was stating, that the community had called the police and they didn't come, not allegedly, and they thought it was some issues with the police and the chief, you know, with him disciplining one of the sergeants, and they didn't come out. That was what was said in the community. But what I wanted to say is that we want Chief White, he should be respected. And hopefully that was not the case among officers that, and I want Chief White, his position should be respected, whether we disagree or not. But I think that I want to ask Commissioner Burks, when is the next police meeting?
Well, you can speak through the chair.
Mr. Chair. Woods.
Commissioner Presley is now the chair of that particular committee.
Okay.
And he is planning on convening a meeting very, very soon, and that will be put out in the public.
Okay, thank you for that. We just want to keep that communication going and making sure that's not being missed.
Absolutely.
Thank you.
Anyone else? Okay. So is Mr. Freeze here? All right. This is our monthly budget actuals. Mr. Freeze, you may be heard.
Thank you, Chairman. To this honorable board, hoping to walk through actuals for the month of June, which closes out our fiscal 2023 through 2024 year. Just want to make sure that this is up on the screen for the public. There we are. So if we can go to slide 2, slide 3. For June, the budget actuals for the Board of Police Commissioners came in at $305,801 versus the budgeted plan of $349,167. This represents an 88% utilization rate for the month of June. This is our highest percent for last year. We were at a surplus of $43,366, but again, this surplus is the lowest that we've had in any month in the last fiscal year. The rationale and remediation of this surplus is, again, working to fill these vacancies and the Merrill Plans construction. If we turn the next page, to illustrate how far we've come, the bottom dotted line is the utilization rate of the prior fiscal year. The top dotted line is the utilization rate of 73% of just this last fiscal year. And these bars, 67% in Q1, 72% in Q2, 74% in Q3, and 80% in this last quarter. And in the last month, we were at 88%. It shows that not only we're making progress, but the speed of this progress is accelerating. This is due to the large leaps and bounds we have made for the vacancies of this staff. We are within grasp of being at full capacity, OCI being 4 members higher than they were in the prior fiscal year. And I'm very encouraged by this progress. This is due to the board, its committees, and those that have applied for these positions. If we turn to the next page. To speak to this, our secretary of the board starts next Monday. We're very close on the policy executive manager, and our attorney position, as chairman has said, is should be filled very soon. These are the last vacancies for the board, and again, I'm very encouraged by this progress. Turn to the next page. To speak to what the board has accomplished from the fiscal end this last year, we have submitted and passed our budget. Year over year, we have expanded our budget by more than $800,000, which represents a 21% increase going into this current fiscal year. We have reconciled several staff titles. We have hired 16 OCI investigators, a civilian oversight analyst, and again, the secretary of the board, who starts next week. And then finally, and maybe most importantly, the increased capabilities of our team, OCI being at full capacity, and the wing-swept case management system, bringing about more effectiveness and efficiency for our civilian oversight staff. And that completes my report. Thank you.
Yes, sir.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Just a quick question. You might have to research this. First of all, great brief presentation. A citizen wanted to request funds from the board for some type of community event. How would they go about doing that?
Through the chair, that is a great question. And I think I would need to look into that, gather some details, and bring that opportunity to the budget committee to see, one, if there is funds available, and then two, how would those be implemented for this initiative.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Any other questions, comments? Excellent report, and thank you for being there every step of the way. And as it relates to the board secretary, that's going to be something, a new, fresh start for us next week. The board secretary will be here on the 26th, and we're looking forward to continue to move this board forward in a positive and productive way. And so thank you so much, Mr. Freeze.
Thank you, Chairman. Thank you, board.
Let's see, we did the report from the board secretary, from the interim secretary. Is any, did you make the announcements?
No, I can't, Mrs. Chair.
Okay, do you have some more public commenters?
Yes,
Okay.
sir.
All right, let them come.
Mr. Ronald Foster.
You may be heard.
Good evening, through the board, through the chair. First thing, I appreciate Attorney Freeze. I did just want to acknowledge I see him in the community. Very pleasant, very polite. I think he does a very good job representing you guys, this department. Second thing I was going to say, Luke 12:48, it tells us to whom much is given, much is required. Now you guys have a new budget here, another $10 million coming in. We require more things from you all. We require a different behavior, a different perspective, a different attitude. We require you all to commit to our community opposed to your buddies and your buddy system. And so these are things that we are asking. I don't work for anybody. I've applied for different places, but my voice is being heard, and for that, I'm very, very grateful. We have to build this community. We have to tear down whatever it is, stumbling blocks that may be preventing our community from growing. And so, yeah, that's really what I want to come up here and say. You guys have been doing a much better job. Hope that you guys continue to do that. And that's really it. Just keep up the good work. I always see Commissioner Moore downtown, very active outside in the community, very in touch with the community. I did want to take the time to say that. You guys keep up the good work. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
And one more call in Zoom, sir.
Yes, you may be heard.
Miss Victoria Camille.
Good afternoon, Commissioners. Can I be heard?
Yes, you may be heard.
Excellent. Thank you. I just want to ask, first of all, thank you for the presentation on the actuals for June. And I'm glad that the board is filling open positions. Can we just get clarification if an attorney position is still budgeted in the board's annual budget? And if so, is that position still open?
Yes, it's still budgeted. Is at a very low rate, and we're in discussions as relates to filling that role right now, and we are doing that expeditiously.
Thank you. I yield the rest of my time.
Okay. Thank you very kindly. Yes, sir.
Mr. Chairman, I'd like to make a motion for the Policy Committee to revisit the 45-day rule as it relates to release of body-worn camera footage and look at it going to 21 days.
Okay. Motion made by Commissioner Moore. Any second? I would second the motion to go back to the Policy Committee for that discussion, and we have the department there to have that discussion to see the feasibility of that. So
I got it. I'm sorry. Just something crossed my mind. I'm very sorry. Chair, I don't know if you can second, though.
Okay. Repeat the motion.
Will do, Madam Vice Chair. I would like to make a motion for the 45-day rule or regulation to go to 21 days, and I want the Policy Committee to research that.
Okay, motion made by Commissioner Moore to take it, the 45-day rule back to the Policy Committee to research whether it can go to 21 days or thereabout. Second by Commissioner Banks.
Yeah.
All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed? The motion is carried. All right. Yep. All right, so it's now 3:44, and Commissioner Burton, we have new business. Do we have new business? There's no new business at this time.
Mr. Chair, can I do the announcements first?
Yeah, you can do announcements.
Okay. The next BOPC meeting will be Thursday, August 29th at 3 p.m. Take place here at Detroit Public Safety Headquarters. The next community meeting will be Thursday, September the 12th at 6:30 p.m. with the 4th Precinct hosting at Kemeny Recreation Center. That address is 2260 South 4th Street, Detroit, Michigan, 48217.
Okay. And let me ask you, Mr. Brown, did the media advisory, did we put that on our website as relates to the Sherman Lee Butler situation that we received?
I'll look and check, Mrs. Chair, and see if it's there.
Yeah, make sure that we have that on our website so the public can know. But the public should know that we are absolutely unequivocally focused, laser sharp focused on this situation. We have an interest in this situation as to what happened, just like anyone else, and we would do all our due diligence to make sure that the appropriate time that we work to get things released so that we could be this community could be educated and informed on what happened in that situation. And I am very, very pleased with the Chief Judge statement as well, coming out strong on this. I know that this is of public interest, and we're not sleep on the wheel at this either, so this is a deep concern of all of ours. Any more, any new business? Yes, sir.
I'd like to make a motion at this time to repost the policy manager position.
Well, there's been a selection already out of committee, and you have a motion on that next week in terms of the applications that was already received. They just went to the next person because the person didn't accept the last one, and so they went to the next ones. And so you should receive something on that.
Through the chair.
Yes.
I just want to throw this out there. The board has to be able to set aside from any form of improprieties or nepotism or favoritism. This position has been posted before. The board have not. Have not filled this position. We haven't had a process where you go to the next name on the list or whatever to get to whoever the candidate, that certain individuals want to use. Just out of all this due respect, it's best to repost the position so we can have the best qualified applicant to be able to be the policy manager for this board. I don't want to say at this table, but if we continue to go down this path, there will be some things I will be calling for. And so out of all due respect, for the sake of this board, it's best if we repost those positions.
I don't think anyone is doing anything criminal. I don't think nobody, brothers or sisters or cousins or aunties, any of that apply, and I think that we had an excellent pool of candidates, and we're working on lockstep with HR. And so, I welcome any entity to come and take a look at what we're doing, so you can call FBI, the CIA, the DEA, and anybody else. The fact of the matter is that I know nobody on this board is going to operate in any criminality. You know what I'm saying? So, and it's going to operate above the ethics, and so I hear what you're saying. Now, if you asking that, you can vote up and down any candidate that come before this board. And if anything else we need to discuss, we can do that as well. But I wouldn't question the integrity of our board members without any evidence. If it is something, put it out there, blast it out in front of the public, because if I see it, I'm going to tell on you, and I'm going to put it out there, so, yes.
Through the chair, from my understanding, a selection has already come through the policy committee.
With a special, personnel and training committee. Yeah.
It's a green light. I was wondering.
You can push the button.
Grab the one next to it.
Yeah, grab the one next to you, yeah.
Can you hear me now? Through the chair. What I was saying is that, from my understanding, that there has already been a selection to come out of the special committee.
Yeah.
So,
Well,
what are we backtracking?
no, well, he made a motion. He have a right to make a motion. There's no support, there's no support, and we just move forward. And then if you have any other reservations, but we'll move forward.
I do have a question.
Yes.
Chairman. What's the difference between the Personnel and Training Committee and the Special Personnel and Training Committee?
That's the one that was convened to handle all of those vacancies, from the, that handled the policy manager, handled all the investigators and some of the administrative assistants, because of not having the ability to convene the Personnel and Training Committee. The previous chair brought together a special Personnel and Training Committee to be able to get it done, and so that's what that was. And that's why we are, we see the numbers from Mr. Freeze today, and that we are on track to be fully staffed, and so I'll say kudos to this board for doing that and moving this board forward. Yep. I think it's almost 4 o'clock. I want to be appreciative and respectful of that. Is any other public commenters or anything of that nature before we close this meeting out? Okay. All the board members good?
Motion to adjourn, Mr. Chairman.
Okay. Motion to adjourn by Commissioner Moore.
Second.
Second by Commissioner Banks. All in favor, shall say aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed? The motion is carried. Thank you very kindly.